So it's 10 past 11 at the time I'm making this video, and this video I normally schedule to come out about 6 o'clock. But given the fact, of course, as we have said and we've talked about before, this vote, Rishi Sunak decided to stake his entire political career on. So things could go a little bit wrong if Rishi loses. And what's more important, this would be the first time that a government has ever been defeated in its first reading of a bill since 1983, when Margaret Thatcher tried to change the rules around Sunday trading. You can see how big this would be if Rishi Sunak loses the bill. Now, probably at this time when this video goes out, there's a very, very good chance, because at the moment in time, they haven't released the timings of the day. There is a very good chance that this vote will have already happened. And we've already talked about what the consequences would be. If Rishi Sunak somehow manages to win this bill, even narrowly, then he's got to actually now show that this Rwanda plan works. And as many people have pointed out, this isn't going to work. This is going to face legal challenges. You have the right to appeal. You always have the right to appeal a decision. And the fact that the government thinks they can just come in and sort of remove the court from an asylum decision, which ultimately it is a court's decision over, ruling over asylum claims and applications, that goes against the law. So ultimately, this is going to end up being stopped. This whole Rwanda plan as a bill to act as a deterrent to stop people, going to Rwanda, or at least so coming to the UK, or at least, coming across in small boats, is not going to work. Not only that, as we've talked about before, more people overstay their visas than any other form of, shall we say, illegal entry into the UK. Not only that, people arriving by a plane also far bigger than people arriving by small boats. When you look at it in the big picture of immigration, trying to, quote, stop the boats becomes pretty ridiculous, as we've said, in the grand scheme of immigration. But of course, this scheme is going to fail. It's being done as a show to say, look how good we are. Robert Patterson, I think today, came out on Twitter and basically said, look, the only reason this bill is being done is that they are trying to stem the tide of or at least conservative voters switching over to Reform UK. We've seen in the polls recently, they are polling at between 10 and 11%. That historically in the past has been enough when it was the, quote, UKIP heyday, to defeat Conservatives. There was enough pull from the Conservative vote to ensure that they would lose. And of course, we're all back panicking back to those days. And of course, you've got the hard right faction, of course, of the Conservatives basically saying we need to go even more hard right. This idea hasn't worked. Why didn't it work? It wasn't nothing to do with the bill. It was to do with something else. So double down, double down, double down. There's also rumors today. This is going to be a 3-line whip. So essentially, if you defy the whip and you vote against the government, it has been alluded to, though not confirmed. I suppose we'll see in the aftermath of the result what happens. That Tory MPs will lose the whip if they vote against the government. That has been alluded to, not confirmed, just alluded to this morning. After all, Rishi Sunak, as I do this just a couple of hours, over an hour ago now, finished his morning breakfast where he tried to literally butter up the new Conservatives, of course, the likes of Miriam Cates and Lee Anderson, all that usual group. We don't know what was said in that meeting. No one said anything about it. But ultimately, from what we can say here, this quote from here we are, Jonathan Gillis. He said, "I still have concerns that we will end up being bogged down by individual claims, and this means that we will see very few people put on a plane to Rwanda. As the former Immigration Minister Robert Jerrick has said, we do not want one or two token flights of 5 to 10 people. We need to see the planes full to the hilt flying off to Rwanda, and then I hope other safe countries." Because this is part of their mass sort of immigration plan. You know, you do something with Rwanda. Oh, look how well it works with Rwanda. Don't you, other African country, want to take part in this? And then they start to sell out the scheme to more and more other countries. And even now, bear in mind, Rwanda, quote, being a safe country, yeah, I don't think so, especially when you remove the right, as they will be going through a British application. They would certainly fall under British jurisdiction. So if anything, the Rwandan government does anything, they have any complaints, etc., anything like that should happen. They're not in British jurisdiction, then technically. Even the bill tries to abdicate responsibility to Rwanda. And of course, you know, they do not even have a right to return should they fulfill their application promise over in Rwanda. So there are still massive problems in this bill. This is going to get challenged ultimately, and it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work as a deterrent. Small boats will still end up coming across the channel, and then of course the other thing is that this is still going to annoy all the hard right. So the idea that this bill passes and then it goes into law, of course, will it pass the Lords or not? Who knows? There's very much doubt whether it will even pass the second reading, or even if, shall we say, the hard right of those new Tories will start slipping in addendums and amendments to the bill, which then the moderate Tories then go, yep, we ain't going to do that. And even the moderate Tories seem to be very split on whether they should actually vote on this bill or not. Everyone knows, to be honest, at this point, this is either the end of Rishi Sunak. If he loses this bill, ultimately, this is the end of Rishi Sunak. And as we've talked about before, he will have to do either, one potentially of three things. A, he'll have to resign. B, call a general election. Or, well, three, maybe have another go at it. Which, to be honest, I doubt he will manage to pass. And if he does, I think there will be a vote of no confidence in him, which will be the third really true option at that point. But all honestly, I think this bill is going to be very close. I think it is going to be double digits. Will it go to single digits? No, but I think it will be double digits. But bear in mind, you only need 29 Conservatives to rebel. And to be honest, with the amount of Conservative MPs that are upset and do not like this bill, that is entirely possible. So please do forgive me if there are other videos that I do in regards to some of this stuff today, because it could all go a bit wacky, could all go a bit crazy because of this. So if the vote has already happened, again, I'm sorry. That's just normal time I like to put this video out. But ultimately, there's a high probability other stuff will probably be happening in the background, whether we lost. So we might end up going live to talk about some of the stuff that's happened. So potentially watch out for that if that happens. I will be on Geoscope tonight with Graham. So we've got a list of topics that we're going to talk about, sort of foreign policy, what's going on in the world, how this sort of affects the UK. But I've already talked with Graham. If this vote goes all a bit Pete Tong, we'll probably end up having to talk about the consequences and maybe what's going on at Westminster. Because I think if Rishi loses this, things will happen fast. Things will happen very, very fast. So we will see what happens tonight. And as I said, I always threaten you with a good time. So we'll see what happens tonight. But either way, please do hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, as always, down below, there's a link to my Patreon page, the one-off station link called Buy Me Coffee. There's the YouTube Pony Club as well down below, and the YouTube thank you button. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.